from Lori's Little Bit of Crafting, coming to you on Sunday, Father's Day. I'm trying to make sure my cable is out of the way. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the United States. It is June 15th, soon to be June 16th here in Wisconsin. And I've got my other device set up, so hopefully I can see if anybody jumps on with me. Last night, we played with this new Sunflower 3D embossing folder. Hopefully everybody can hear me. I've got my microphone on today because my husband is on the phone with his sister from Arizona, and they're Italian, and he might start talking really loud, so I'm hoping my microphone will filter that out. So anyway, fun fact, my husband's Italian. So anyway, we did this last night, and here were a couple of the cards that I worked on and the color combinations based on the color coaches from Stampin' Up. So this is Petal Pink with some Misty Moonlight and Cajun Craze. This is the Cajun Craze. Cajun Craze, yeah. Crushed Curry, Early Espresso, and this was our Black and Berry Vanilla mini checked ribbon that I used my Stampin' Blends to colorize. And this is one that I started, but I finished it just a little bit ago with Misty Moonlight, the Cajun Craze, and just some Berry Vanilla. And again, I colorized that ribbon with the Misty Moonlight instead of the Cajun Craze. And I used some sentiments from the Say Something for Everything ephemera pack. And that has just a lot of fun. Oh no, that's not the right one. Which one did I use? Here. Maybe I was right. Saying Something ephemera pack. That's got all different scripts and colors and sayings, or different fonts, I guess. So that's what I used here, and I just cut it down because this was one long strip, and I kind of created this as a fun fold just to kind of break up that sunflower bam in your face. And that was basically just a regular card base. I cut off an inch here, and then I transferred part of that embossed piece and a layer onto the inside page, and then I put a layer of the Very Vanilla inside just for my whatever I'm going to write in there. Okay, so those were the ones from last night. Now, I was working with Cajun Craze, and I thought I would emboss one ahead of time with the sunflower. So with this, and what I did was I paired it with the Blackberry Bliss, which is one of my very favorite colors. And what I did was I used from this Saying Something ephemera pack. Today is about you because it's got the same color on there. And I used my perennial postage dies. And I'm going to leave this at a card front size. So 4.5 or 4.25 rather by 5.5. And I tried to center that perennial postage as best I could. Not that it's going to really matter because then I took a pair of the Blackberry or a piece of the Blackberry Bliss and I used the biggest dies. So I used the bigger perennial postage on this, and then I ran it through the Forever Plaid 3D embossing folder. This went through the Sunflower 3D embossing folder with that smaller die. And my intention then is to put this on here a little canted, just enough to give it some depth, but not enough that I'm going to show that hole underneath. And then this will go on here, and then this will go on here. So that's going to be another card. I love this embossing folder. Fall is my absolute favorite season. And while I'm not in a hurry to bypass summer, because I do like summer, but fall is my favorite. So the fact that we've got this sunflower embossing folder is really cool to me. And then I'll add some embellishments. I don't think I'm going to colorize that at all. I just like the pop how it is. So that's another one. So what I thought I would do tonight, and I guess we'll just color it and I'll lay it out on a base. I thought I grabbed a base, but I didn't. I did bring over my Blackberry Bliss ink. And if you ever get to a point where you can't hear me, somebody please put a comment in there that you can't hear me. And I'll just turn that mic off. I think my husband either stopped talking with her sister or took my hint that he needed to be a little quiet. So what I'm going to do with this is put color on my embossing folder, and then I'm going to put my paper in, my cardstock, and this is just half a sheet. So all I did was take my 8.5 by 11 and I cut it at 5.5. All right. And that whole thing will fit in here because this embossing folder is like 6 by 8 or 8.25 or something. And what I'm going to do, and I did this not too awful long ago, but I'm going to put color inside my embossing folder. All right. And hopefully this will look as pretty on paper as it does in my head. All right. And you can see because I'm doing it on the top. So the piece or the side that has the Stampin' Up! Logo on it is the top of the embossing folder. This is the part that has the, oh, thanks, Linda. Don't you love these colors? All right, you can't stick around, but check out the video tomorrow and tell me what you think. So anyway, you're putting all of the color on the top. So the design is actually indented because the back is where it's raised, and that's what makes the impression on your paper. It pushes the design up, okay? So we're just going to make sure that we're pretty well inked here. And you can see where a lot of this doesn't have ink, and I don't want it to because that's where we're going to maybe add some other colors. And I just got ink on my fingers. Not too bad. Okay. So I think that should be pretty good. And I'm just going to lay this piece here, and I'm going to close up my ink. Oh, thanks, Linda. I'm glad you can hear me. Hopefully my microphone won't die. Paul's talking to his sister from Arizona, and I mentioned that they're both Italian, so they talk really loud. All right, so let's close this on here. And then I need to get out my Bossy Bessie and move that out of the way. I got this, it's the friends we meet along the way that help us appreciate the journey, from a good friend of mine. We've been friends for, we're in our 5th decade of friendship. So we've been friends for a long time, since the 70s. All right, so I need, because this is a 3D, I need my base plate, which is number 1 plate. I don't want to let go of this because I don't want my paper to move. We put our 3D embossing folder in here, and then we use number 4 plate, because if we look at the instructions on here, when we have a 3D embossing folder, it tells us exactly what we need. We need plate 1 and plate 4. All right. So let's pop this in here. And like I said, hopefully it is going to look as good on paper as it does in my head. All right. And let's open this up and look at that. All right, so this I'm just going to take over to the sink and I'm going to rinse it out. It just needs a little bit of water. I'm not using any soap. I'm not even touching it because Blackberry Bliss. is a very dark color, and I don't want it all over my fingers. There we go. Oops. There we go. And just like that, it's clean. Okay. So I'm just going to leave that in the sink so it can dry. I am very lucky that I have a sink in my crafting space. So let's get this out of the way. And I think I need to get a piece of Blackberry Bliss cardstock. I thought I grabbed one, but I obviously thought wrong. And we'll cut that down to 4 1/4. I'm going to score it at 4 1/4 and cut it at 5 1/2. And I'll be back on camera here. All right, so here's my base. So let's go ahead and burnish that. Well, I'm glad it helps, Linda. You know, you can always come over and have private lessons. We haven't gotten together for a little bit. And then this we're going to cut down. And I think I'll put a border around it. So let's cut off this part where it didn't ink up very well. And then we're gonna, I want more of the flower and less of the leaves. So we're gonna go 5 1/2, we'll go 5 1/4. We'll just go down 1/4 inch from our normal base size. And I'm gonna take that edge off too. Let's see what we're at here. So we're at 8 1/8. So if I take about 1/8 inch off of here. Now, when I have a narrow strip like that I want to take off, I put my cutting blade so that it's going to land somewhere not on the edge, and I can push it up, and then I can push it down and get that off without crinkling it up. All right. And then we'll go to 4. And we should be at 4 and 4. So I'll be able to get 2 cards out of that. Not both for tonight, but we'll get 2 cards out of that. So now when we put this on here, now we could use a similar process like this and use a die to cut it out. We could do our perennial postage and make it look like a stamp. And we could put another, maybe a white layer under that. I wonder how that would look. So if we did, I don't think a white layer would work. To me, it's not going to stand out enough. So anyway, we'll decide what we want to do with that in a minute. Now, some of the ink didn't come through. So what I can do is take a marker or a blends. Blackberry Bliss. I've got my blends. Let's see what this looks like. And if I don't like it, I have another one. So we could use either one of these. So let's kind of play with this one. And I'm not going to keep it on my base because the alcohol blends will go through. But if we just kind of color this, my tip is a little stiff. I'm not sure why. I haven't used this one for a while. Now I just colored on a petal, which is where I didn't want to color. And I probably should have kept some of those white because they're supposed to look like seeds. But this is an experiment. I didn't create my prototype before coming live. Hi, Colleen. You're catching me live. You haven't been on here for a bit. So I put some ink on the top inside of my sunflower embossing folder and ran it through to get some color on here. I guess we need to color some of these spots too that should be filled in. I must not have inked it good enough. But we can just fill those in if you don't mind coloring to get the look that you want. And I'm not sure exactly how I wanted this to look when I ended up, but I thought the dark background would look kind of cool with the light flowers. And then we can add maybe, whoops, I'm coloring kind of messy here. Maybe I should use the other tip, the bullet tip instead of the brush. Well, Colleen, if you're trying to catch the right time, it would help if I'm always on at the same time, wouldn't it? I come on 11:30-ish, Wisconsin time. And again, I don't remember what that works out to be Australia time for you, like 2 in the afternoon? 2? I don't remember. You've told me before, I just don't remember. So what do you think of the color background with the embossing folder? I think if I'd have been a little more generous with the ink, it might have turned out a little bit better without me having to add color. But I wanted to be careful so that I didn't get too much on there. So then let's do some crushed curry. And I think this is, yeah, that's my blending brush. So okay, so it's 2:30 by you now. I was good then. So if I was coming on at 11, it'd be like 2 o'clock by you. So 2:30 in the afternoon. All right, so let's add, actually, sunflowers are all kind of yellow petals too, right? Let's just put all this crushed curry all around here. And we can do it a little darker kind of in the center to give it some depth and go lighter as we get to the end of the petals. What do you think of that? And we don't even have to worry about the Blackberry Bliss because it's so dark, it's not going to matter. Okay. So let's put a little bit of color there. Now I'm trying to avoid those leaves because that's going to be a lighter color and I should probably do that before I do too much more with the crushed curry so that I don't mess that up. Let's go with some Old Olive. Yep, Colleen, it's Blackberry Bliss, one of my favorite colors. That and Old Olive, right? Yeah. That and Lemon Lime Twist. Those are like my all-time favorites. I was so glad when they brought back the Lemon Lime Twist when they did the color refresh. I was really excited. And so our color doesn't have to be super intense. We could probably even use an Old Olive card base. And the other thing I could probably do, let's give that a try. Let's try with a water painter. So when I do my water painters, I'll put ink on my block. And then I'm going to close these so that I don't get too much more ink on my fingers. So I put some of the ink on my block because I don't like it inside my stamp case. Now this is not watercolor paper, so I'm going to try not to saturate it too much. And I should probably add a little bit more water so that that becomes a little less intense. But it'll be okay. This will be my prototype, my second one. Maybe it'll turn out better. Yeah, doesn't that make the sunflowers pop, Colleen? So this embossing folder is available to demonstrators now. It is an upcoming online exclusive. I don't know if that's a leaf under the flower or not, but it is right now. All right. So let's do this with my painter. And you could use the blends, but I like doing little techniques, and I'm not sure what that's supposed to be, so I'm just going to make that a leaf because who knows? I think that, oh, we've got some leaves up here as well. I kind of like it with the water painter as opposed to just the blending brush. I'll make that a little lighter. All right, so I think that's probably all the leaves. And I can always rinse this underwater, but the other thing is just dab it with some, pushing the water out of it until you get the color gone. So that's pretty well gone. And I will set this in my sink. And my microphone light is still green, so I'm hoping you can still hear me all right. Let's get another block. And we'll do, well, we could probably just use the blending brush for the rest of this because I think with those other colors on, we'll be fine. So let me put this upright so it doesn't leak all over. And then I don't need that block after all. So let's do some color here with the crushed curry. And if a little rolls over onto the old olive, it doesn't really matter because I don't think it will ruin anything. All right, and I'm gonna take, yep, the dark blackberry bliss. And I'm gonna fill in a little bit more here because it kind of lightened up when I was using the blending brush, I think. And we can put another layer on here just to intensify that color a little bit. That's where the ink on the embossing folder didn't transfer or didn't get heavy enough. Okay. And then the other thing I'm going to do, oh, we've got some flower over here. We'll add a little bit more flower color there. And maybe a little bit here out to the petal edges a little bit more. So what a difference, all right? So let me move this out of the way. And we'll close this. So here it is, straight out of the embossing folder with the Blackberry Bliss on the top. Let me dry this so I can kind of show it to you. So we've got like the black and white version and the colorized. So just to recap what I did is I took the 3D embossing folder. Now this is the top because that's where the logo is. This line is used to help you keep your paper straight. If it's a directional kind of design, this one wouldn't really matter a whole lot. But when I opened it up, I went ahead and wherever my Blackberry Bliss went, it was here a minute ago. There we go. All I did then was Blackberry Bliss all in that top side. And I covered the whole thing. And when we put this in on the bottom and close it, run it through the embossing machine, you can see how the paper is going to turn out. All right. So the indentations where the flowers are on the top are not picking up the ink, only where it's depressed on the top because they come up from the bottom. That's what's going to pick up the ink on your paper. All right. So if we do our card base here, what a difference. Let me get that other card base and we can just kind of see what it looks like here. Plain and with color. I think that's pretty remarkable. Isn't this fun? I love this embossing folder. So I will clean up a little bit of my debris here. I will finish these up and I'll post pictures on my Facebook page. Oh, I was going to get, I need to close this ink pad. I have this from last night. That would look pretty good on there because of the very vanilla. Or we could do something, it's got a little blemish on there. We could do something, I hate to cover up too much of those sunflowers because they are gorgeous. So I'm going to get my color lifter, or what I actually call my color pusher, because I see here, I kind of went over onto my petal and it might be dried too much that I can't push it. Now it's lightening up. And then when that dries, I can put a little bit more of crushed curry on there. And then there's some residual color here from the embossing folder. I think that just kind of adds to the personality of the image. All right. So then what I'll need to decide, and sometimes it takes me just looking at it, if I cut this out with my perennial postage, maybe put a layer of old olive as, oh, that might be really pretty. If I do just a layer of old olive to kind of set it off, what do you think of that? I think that might be the crowning touch. So let me know what you think. Let me know if you try this. You can always go to my Facebook page once I've posted the images, and you can add a comment with a picture if you've tried it. Thank you, Colleen. I really do like how the colors turned out here. Again, this was kind of a let's fly by the seat of our pants and see what we think. So yeah, if you go to my Facebook page, you can always add comments under the image and include pictures. I don't think there's a way on the YouTube to add pictures to your comments. I think you can only make comments. So that's what I have for you tonight. Thanks for stopping in. Sunny days. You love the colors and the sunflowers. Aren't they gorgeous? I love them. I love them. So if you are not a demonstrator, and if you don't have a demonstrator you work with, I would love to be your demonstrator of choice and help you with your creative options. If you are a demonstrator or have a demonstrator, you'll get information about when you can get these online exclusives. So that's all I have for you. See you next time, Colleen. Thanks for popping in. Let me know which one you like better. I will, like I said, post these on my Facebook page. You can add comments there, like that page, share that page. It helps me grow my channel and my Facebook page. So I appreciate it. Lori's Little Bit of Crafting. That's all I have for you tonight, friends. Thanks for stopping by. Until next time, happy crafting.